something we all need. Gotta have it now if you wanna succeed. Striving, surviving, that's no doubt. Sticking together, we gon' find a way out. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all.
Good afternoon. Oh, excuse me. We're actually late tonight. Good evening, the back community. Thank you as always for staying involved. Thank you for staying engaged. I do have Mr. Gary Woodside Eley, who's going to be on here with us tonight. And we're going to be diving into a lot about the community. We're going to be talking about his path to ownership and being an operator with McDonald's over the years. But I happen to have the privilege of knowing Gary since I was a young man, and it is such a privilege to be able to have you on the back community. So thank you for affording me your time today.
It's my pleasure, and I appreciate you giving me a platform to speak on. So thank you. And I'm proud of what you've done in your life, and I know the best is yet to come.
Oh, God willing, God willing. Well, let me see. I know I have the distinct pleasure of knowing you, but those individuals in our community there in Indiana, as well as Albany, New York, or DC, where I'm at, they may not know you directly. So here's your opportunity, Gary, to tell the back community more about you, what it is that you do, and what it is that you're passionate about. Here's your opportunity to tell us about you.
Well, thank you for giving me the time to share a little bit about myself. I'm a native of New York. I grew up in New York City. And then maybe 40 years ago, I took a leap of faith and went upstate to Albany, New York. And I tell people leaving New York City, Harlem, where people thought I wouldn't make it out there alive, Albany changed my life. I said Albany saved my life. Started there, family, career with McDonald's Corporation that still spans. I'm an operator now. After 36 years with McDonald's Corporation, I decided to buy a restaurant. But prior to that, McDonald's took me up and down the East Coast, to Illinois, to Kentucky, and now I'm a resident of Carmel, Indiana. 3 kids, 5 grandkids, a host of great nieces and nephew. My passion is how do I be a role model to show our youth that they can do anything possible. As I said, all things are possible for those who believe. I think it's Matthew 9:13. So that's I want to give back to my community no matter where I'm at. Nice. One of the things I've also done, I've always been a part of Junior Achievement. Albany, I started part of the 100 Black Men of Albany. I was a member there. And then in Kentucky, I was president of the 100 Black Men of Kentucky for about 2 years. That's it about me, and hopefully I can share a little bit more about me throughout the conversation we have.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for opening up and telling us that. 36 years. Did you say 36 years with McDonald's?
36 years with the corporation.
With the corporations. Please tell me, how did McDonald's choose you, or how did you choose McDonald's? That's a very tenured career with one place. How has that journey been for you?
It was, I think, a job that I took on by accident. Graduated from College of St. Rose, had more of a technology background, but didn't do my due diligence to maximize that. So after graduating, becoming a father, husband, needed to work. So a good friend of mine said, my wife currently works in McDonald's. There might be an opportunity for you to work there. And I didn't even go prepared for the interview. And they had something called a 3-day on-the-job evaluation. So they evaluate you, and I evaluate them to see if it's a good fit. And one thing that I found out about McDonald's while I was there in Waterville, it wasn't about selling burgers, it was about people. So I saw that people piece of it that really attracted me to the company. And then, like I said earlier, I didn't even do my homework to know that it was a Fortune 500 company. But as the supervisor sat down with me and said, hey, we want to bring you on board, but we don't want you to be in a restaurant for your entire life. We want you to work with the franchise community. We want you to do this and this. I'm saying, wow, you don't mean a restaurant all my life? And so I went back home and did my homework. I said, this is a company I can work for. And as I get to know McDonald's, I started to understand their values. They talk about we give back to the community we do business in. And that was the one thing that they taught me in Albany, how to give back to communities. I was part of the Boys and Girls Club Board of Directors. St. Peter's asked me to be on the board. I gave back to the Urban League and so forth and so forth. They allowed me to give money to grants. But that's the way it happened. And as a young man, I wouldn't even sit in front of you in an interview and talk to you right now. But McDonald's put me on the stage with 1,500 people, 1,000 people, and taught me how to become comfortable as my career grow to be a part of society.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it, and it's obviously at this stage of life, we know that there's a lot of success with corporations like McDonald's, whether you decide to be a franchisee or just on the employee route. But, you know, oftentimes we don't really hear how far, or we don't see as often how far you could really take a career with McDonald's. Most times people would just think about being a cashier or a cook. And I know those are the jobs that used to be readily available to us when I was a kid working at McDonald's. But no one ever really explained, like you said, that pathway to being able to say, actually, I don't want to keep you here in the restaurant. I also want you to explore all of these different aspects of McDonald's and how it is integrated in the communities and where we're at. And I think if people understood that aspect of McDonald's a little bit more, that, you know what, this is a Fortune 500 company. Like you said, it was just like, there's a lot more opportunity here if done right, if taken advantage of the right opportunities and connected with the right people.
Right. And you think about our young adults these days, one of the things we look for, how do you become a team player? You know, because we have different departments within the restaurant, but it takes everyone working together to deliver that product to the guests, whether it's speed of service, quality of food, cleanliness of the restaurant. All those things take a team. And I think the one thing I also talk about is that it helped me to be a better communicator. It helped you to interact with guests, to be communicating better. And I always talk about when I go to work, I have fun. It's not work, but you want to have fun doing it. And it helped me to enjoy the environment I'm in and create an environment that's fun. And it helps. So when we have other things, systems, we teach people ordering, scheduling, you know, customer service. So we can get you involved with training. You can be a crew trainer, so you can train people and take these life skills into the next job that you look at.
I love it. I love it. Let me see. And I know you did allude to it earlier. I know you moved from I think Harlem, New York, up to Albany. One of the things I always ask for individuals who come on from the Capital District area is, what part of the Capital District area did you grow up in?
The Capital District was up, I guess, the Lark Street area. Central Towers was. I spent time. Most of my, I went to St. Rose. My ex-wife went to SUNY. So that uptown Myrtle Street by Albany Med, all those. But I lived in Troy, I lived in Schenectady, I lived in Cohoes before I left, so, but mainly in it more uptown, actually downtown too. All parts. I moved so much in Albany, when I was there. So
it's amazing what they've done with that whole area over there by Myrtle Avenue, New Scotland, the Albany Med area. Yes. I've traveled a lot of places, and when I come home, it's just like that. What they're doing in that area, what they're doing in Albany, is really going to be transformative for those who could survive everything else that's going on there. I can see what's actually happening, the gentrification, on top of the fact of the opportunities that's coming into the area. And like I said, if you could survive what's going on, a couple more years to see the landscape of what it's going to look like, it's really going to look amazing.
Yeah. So, just the gentrification. I come from Harlem. I met some siblings I met them 6 years ago. So Dad had siblings on the other side, and finally met them. So we went to Harlem for dinner, I took him out and said, yeah, grandma used to live there. And we all knew it, but it had changed.
Yeah.
So it's happening as we speak throughout the country,
Mm-hmm.
the whole changing process. So.
Yeah.
But Albany, it's definitely changing. And the goal is to always make it better, make it better for everyone, not just the affluent, but also us as African Americans. How do we set the stage so we be in better communities and feel good about where we're at? Because that's the way we're going to help each other.
I agree. And, I think a lot of it still has to do with mindset. It's sometimes it's not even about the environment or the community, the city in which you're in, because if your mindset is a poor mindset, it doesn't matter where you're at, because you're going to bring that same poor mindset to whatever beautiful place you may happen to land. But I think the more that we decide to grow, have a growth mindset. I know you and I were talking offline about being uncomfortable, and those moments of being uncomfortable is where you're really forced to grow. And I think that as individuals, as a community, we deserve to have a lot more growth and opportunity and development on that way. A lot of people will talk about all of the problems, but I say, look at the micro things that we can work on, which is ourselves, our individual families. And if everyone starts to work on those things, the larger picture becomes more of a beautiful picture too, when we're looking at synergy as a whole.
Yeah, and Joel, you brought up a great point about the mindset, because again, as McDonald's evolved, we talk about mindsets. We talk about a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And that fixed mindset is, my dad or my mom was always doing this with drugs and things like that, so I can't change. Or what are the negative things? You got that fixed mindset. Or even in the restaurant, we say we can't staff these restaurants because we never staff. No, we currently can't staff it, but we have things to do. So have that growth mindset. My family has this history of whether negative or whatever. However, I can do this to change that past fixed mindset. And that's important. Have a growth mindset. When you have a growth mindset, anything's possible. So how do we teach our kids to have a growth mindset and believe in themselves?
Yeah, and I think that's that is the biggest part of the journey for me. When you talk about, they say it's easy to create success for yourself. It's really hard to duplicate your success in others. So in my road, or on my road as a mentor, working with other individuals, I just look at how important it is to be a vessel, or to be a game changer for other people, to say, you know what, you don't have to stay on this path. You don't have to just be limited here. But if you choose to be limited here, this is what's available to you too. But if you believe enough, if you have enough faith, if you give yourself enough time, you'll see the other opportunities that God has available for us.
You hit some key words here. So as the president of the 100 Black Men of Louisville, we had a shirt that says, "We are the game changers in the hood." 100 Black men, and then the shirt said, "We're the game changers in the hood." So how do you change that game? How do you change the narrative to make sure that? And I also, when I talk to young adults, sometimes I try to hook them. I say, I might have 10 or 15 or maybe more in front of me. I said, only one of you are gonna listen to me, but I'm okay with that. So when I'm finished, I usually get more than that. But you always set that up, that we can be role models, we can be there, and we can show them that there's a way, but they got to come and believe in it.
Okay.
We paint the picture. I can show them my walk. Their walk is a little different. It might be a little bumpy in them. I always talk about two things, and you probably heard this before. When you're driving a car, you got the rear view mirror, and you got the big windshield. And the rear view is your past. It could be ugly. It could be, whatever it is, it's the past. And you're driving as fast as you can. I drive fast sometimes to get away from it. So I'm looking at the windshield, and that's my future. My future is bright. What's behind me is what I learned, what good, bad, or ugly, but I'm learning from it. Yep. I also talk about, life is a roller coaster. Absolutely. And when you're going up, you go up. You're going up because you're happy, you're excited, because you're probably riding high. When you go down, you probably made a mistake. So you're scared. Hopefully you learn during going down, so when you come back up, you don't make those dips as often. So life is a journey. Life is forever learning. And hopefully, and Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, said, when you're green, you're growing. When you're ripe, you're riding. So we got to continue to be green and learn, you know?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Let me see. What about, I know we're talking about youth or young adults. One of the questions I like to ask my guests is, if you were to think about the younger version of yourself, Gary, think about the Gary who just was probably still in Harlem or just moving up to Albany, but what is one thing that you wish that you know now that you would tell the younger version of yourself? I think a lot of youth have a difficult time identifying or seeing themselves in the success of other people, right? Sometimes it just feels like, oh, you're so far removed. But as we grow, I think that we end up learning so many things that we wish that we had known when we were younger. So thinking about the younger Gary, what is one thing that you wish someone would have told the younger version of you?
That's a good one. And I got to think about it because I know for a fact that I probably, and I really think about this one because I want to make sure I say it right. The younger version of me wish someone would told me that maybe that, you know, you can do anything that you put your mind to. Because I don't think I ever got that enough confidence from anyone that says, hey, Gary, if you focus on this, you can do this. I think when it goes back to role models. So what were my role models growing up? My role model, and I'm going to be transparent and point blank. When I walked out of the streets of Harlem, who did I see? Drug dealers, stick-up kids, and some of them protected me.
Yep.
So that's what I saw more than anything. So if I would have saw more of the positive, that might have been what attracted me. Because again, I might have made, because again, I made the roller coasters. I made mistakes in life. I tell people that I was part of Leroy Nicky Bond's organization, Mr. Untouchable. I watched his organization fall when I was 18 years old. I graduated from high school. The counselor said, she said to me, that, you know, I didn't think you'll make it. You know, so when I walked down the aisle, she was shocked on time. But I went to Manhattan Community College, flunked out, went back to the streets hustling, and then got a chance to come to Albany. And that's when things changed. But I didn't learn, because I still played both sides of the streets until I was 31 years old. Until McDonald's people are saying, Gary, you can do anything you want. We can take a risk in your own country to see other Black successful people. When I started to see that in corporate America, then I said, wow, I can make $100,000 illegally. I can make $100,000 with my mind. When I realized that, all that was the past. I can stop killing my people, hurting my people. And now I can focus and be proud of what I'm doing. Because I had one of my siblings, I had someone in the family member, when I came back from college, I graduated from St. Rose, and I'm in there, and they said to me, I said, I got a job working at McDonald's. They said, you went to college to work for McDonald's. Instead of saying, you got out of Harlem, you graduated, you got a job. They said, you went to college to work for McDonald's. So not even having someone, and this person had 2 careers and really didn't even have to say, hey, congratulations.
Yep.
So I look back, and I think the big thing is having more role models.
Okay.
I had a couple throughout, little tidbits, but I was also blessed to have an uncle and an aunt that lived in Harlem, and they moved to the Bronx. So I would take the train to the Bronx. They moved to New Rochelle, so I would take the train to New Rochelle. And a friend that moved to Mount Vernon, I would take. So weekends I would get out on my own, and that helped set the stage when I went to Albany to be comfortable with traveling.
Yes.
Because a lot of time as African Americans, we're trapped in that block.
Yep.
Right, and we put a name on the block because that's so and so's block. But when they go, whatever happens, bad, good, or different, when they're gone, the block is still really on the block.
And you don't own it.
Right. So this is so and so corner. But when that person, whatever happens, good or bad, and different, that person, then someone else takes over the block. And we got to get our youth to understand that, get them to see other parts of life or the world or the cities, you know, get them traveling so they get comfortable, because you get trapped in that one area and that's all you know. You know,
Yeah, I'm smiling so much when I hear you speak, because there's so many similarities between your story that I never even know. I never even knew that I definitely went through myself. But you'll get a chance to read it for me when that book arrives. But
Right.
you know, from getting
Can't
kicked out
wait.
of high school, from hustling, to, like I said, getting a scholarship from an organization called Sponsor a Scholar, and moving down to Charlotte, North Carolina. And, you know, in a couple of months, you know, everything, my trajectory changed from where it could have been
Right.
to where it is now. You know what I mean? To say, you know, I got a 16-year span of working for the federal government. To say, you know, I've traveled all over the world. To say I got 3 healthy sons, you know, that don't have to experience any of the things that I had to experience. And
Right.
when I'm hearing it, it was just like, I would have never known. I
Mhm.
would have never known this. But is one, that's one of the amazing things of life, when you get to live long enough to mature enough to sit down and hear somebody else's story. And I think those are the game changers.
Right.
So many people think that, oh, okay, well, they'll see you today as an owner and be like, oh, well, you know, Gary, how can you identify with what it is that I'm going through? Or hell, hey, Tyrell, what do you know about what I'm going through? Everything.
Everything.
Everything that you're going through, I probably did it, or
Right.
worse.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
And you know the thing is, and think about it, because again, um, uh, we're going, you know, we're talking about, but even thinking about now, I'll say this about McDonald's, because um, I got a jacket hanging behind me. I don't know if you can see it,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
but it's the 50th anniversary for the Black operators in McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
50 years of being Black operators. I'm 2 years in. I should have became an operator maybe 10 years ago. But if you Google McDonald's, McDonald's Corporation has made more Black millionaires than any other company
Wow.
in existence. I was in California with a meeting, their 50th anniversary, and to sit in a room with that many millionaires is unheard of. You know, unheard of. We still have a fight to go when it comes to equity in terms of what one operator may compare to our white counterparts.
Yep.
But still, we are been more successful than any other corporation, any other McDonald's is a franchising system. And so it gives us that fortitude to be that, you know. So I'm proud to be there. Well, I'm happy, not satisfied, but it's great to know that, you know. And again, on the company side, I was pretty successful. If I turn my, let me just turn this around, and see, I'd hate to do it, but if I go here, you see, and it's full of all my accolades out my career at McDonald's. And so, and again, I'm still trying to organize this thing, but they things like the McCafe Shake.
Yes.
They started in 4 of my restaurants. They tested in Wisconsin before it went to 15,000 restaurants. So I played a major part in the operations piece of it. Marketing did their share, menu management did theirs, but it tested in my restaurant. The register we take orders on, it was words, now it's pictures. They tested in 3 of my restaurants before it went to 24,000 restaurants. So I had the privilege of helping things come to fruition as a McDonald's employee. And they came to me and said, Gary, can you help in these company restaurants test these things? And I said, why not? So that's what I'm proud about, what this brand has helped me to be a part of bringing things to life. And I go on about other things that help with the brand. And that's what I think when our youth come to, you know, so everything, and it wasn't easy, because I got people who said he can't run those restaurants. And then, you know, 2 years later, I have the best restaurants in the country. Best 31 restaurants worthy. At one point in 2010, I was a President's Award winner, top 1% around the world in operations manager. So out of, you know, maybe 1,500 operations managers, I'm the top 1%. And so that's an award that's for manager, or it's pretty good. So And that's what, the system has offered. Operators do things on their own too for their people, and people don't realize that.
Well, shout out to McDonald's, because once again, for everybody who's listening in, or if you're watching in, there's amazing opportunities, careers. Like a lot of times you don't hear people talk about how, there is a career path in an organization, a corporation like McDonald's. And, if you connect yourself with the right people, if you take advantage of the opportunities, and that's one of the things I try to tell people, take advantage of the opportunities. Everyone's always looking for the immediate, oh, give me 100,000 or give me something. Listen, take advantage of the opportunities, learn the systems, learn the experience, learn the communication skills. The communication skills is going to take you further than anything. Saying,
right.
Learning how to be in the room and be comfortable being who you are. I sit and give briefs and presentations at my job to all of the top executives. And it's just like, well, wow, how are you so comfortable? I've been speaking, I've been doing this my entire life. Yeah. It's just like, this is what comes natural to me. So take advantage of those opportunities. But
even if it doesn't come natural to you, you go back to what's being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Tell somebody, this is something I want to work on. And because again, I'll go back to St. Rose. One of the projects we had when I was a senior, I had to present in front of my class. It was a group of 4 of us. I called in sick because I was scared to present. So McDonald's found out about that. They sent me to Dale Carnegie. They put me in a stage, with first teaching classes. Did a worldwide convention with 5,000 managers, 3 rotations, 15,000, 3 rotations, and the audience had about 250 in. I did 15 shows in Mandalay Bay for 2 weeks. I was out there, and they put me on stage with them, and they taught me how to be comfortable, right? And then following year, a worldwide convention in Orlando, where 25,000 people come. I got 1,500 people in the audience, and they said, you and Allison are going to be the 2 that talk about a good restaurant and a bad restaurant, with 1,500 people in the audience. So a company also understands you share the same values with. We see continuous improvement. And that's one thing they wanted to me. How do they help me get better? Help the restaurants get better. And they helped me to become comfortable with talking. That was one of my critical flaws, talking.
It's a common one. They say, the most common fear amongst all Americans is the fear of public speaking. Right. So it's like people would rather die than to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. And they realized and said, we're going to help you. And that's understanding that, be with the right people, help them understand what your opportunities are. And if they're supportive, they'll help you grow. Yeah.
All right. Let me see. Do you give yourself permission to change? Why or why not?
Well, I got to give myself permission to change, because when you give yourself permission to change, it goes back to willing to grow. Because again, I think it goes back to being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and change. There was again, McDonald's, all this change stuff. One book called "Iceberg is Melting," and it was a group of penguins that had an iceberg and it was melting. And in order for them to survive, they had to change. Simple, straight story book, but it was common sense that you got to change to get better. If you don't change, you stay in the same pigeonhole or same situation you're in, and it doesn't allow you to grow. Change is uncomfortable. And I give my permission to change. Even buying a restaurant, it was a big change. Now I before the corporate employee, you had HR, you had everything, all the different disciplines, right? So as an owner, I am a doctor, I'm a financial planner for people, I'm a lawyer, and I'm wearing so many different hats. So I got to be able to adapt and change. I got to give myself permission.
I love it. I love it. And, whenever I see pictures of you doing events, I always see you smiling, and it's like you're having fun, you're having a good time. I am glad that you enjoy what you do, because I know that resonates with the people that you work with, and you help them to enjoy what it is that they're doing, and you guys are able to create success together, as a team, but also individually, because I can only imagine the success that individuals who come up underneath you have experienced and are experienced, and as a direct result of just being tied to you, Gary.
You definitely got to create that comfortable environment, even, with the customers, you got to make them smile, because those are the ones I try to tell my employees, those are the ones that are going to pay us. Money comes in my hand and to your hand, but it doesn't come from me. So we gotta enjoy it. And sometimes I always say, either I love it, or how you say it in a million. So either I like it or I'm crazy. So sometimes I'm crazy, but I like what I'm doing. To do it for, be 40 years in 1983 started. So next year will be officially 40 years. But, there's been some sad times, there's been some challenging times, but the good outweigh the bad. So you got to smile. And every time, like you said, and there's a book, a brother named, he's and I'm getting old, but he is known for running or doing the Rangers training. And he talked about something that I use now. Excuse me.
All right.
And he says, you got to pat yourself on the back, right? So when you do something well, put it in your jar. And I was drawing a blank, but he was from Indiana, and he became a Navy SEAL. He did 2 Hell Nights or Hell Weeks, and then Ranger training. Only person in the world done it. And it's slipping my mind now, but I'll pull it up. But so every now when I do something I feel proud of, I'll put it in the cookie jar. So when someone comes up, it says here, and I got a loan for soap. Like I said, the dollar amount, but I got a loan. So that's why I want to pay it off me. And the restaurant I purchased, it never did what it did before, but the 12 months, it blew it away by over $1 million.
Wow.
To put it in, so you start this, that's current stuff. But you think about all the things you do, you got to be proud of it. I sold my house in Louisville, made a ton of money. So how do you, because there's always going to be someone that doubts you. But you can, when you put things that you've achieved that no one can take away from you, you put out. Yeah,
I love it.
And so, so I try to do that, to make sure that I stay grounded, that no matter how difficult life is, I have some accolades that I can be proud of,
I love it. I love it. One of the things I'm going to take you to right now is because we don't oftentimes get a chance to see the success stories, right? A lot of times, individual's life or their story gets cut short because there's a lot of other variables that go on in these environments that you actually work with. And I can only imagine what you've seen over the years as both now owner and operator, but the people that have come into your field, as well as the individuals in Indiana, New York, or in Albany that you've come across with. But one of the things I always talk about on the podcast too, because I've been directly affected by it my entire life, is gun violence. It's something that plagues the communities that I love, that I live in. And I always talk about, ways to make things better. But how have you been impacted by gun violence in the Capital District area? But for you, I know you're a world traveler, so I can only imagine it's all over the place with you, even in Indiana.
Before I get to the brother's name is David Goggins. That if you Google him, so I grew up in gun violence in Harlem, and I'll tell you. So at the age of 11, I knew how to make a gun. I have a wound on my arm right here that you could break an antenna off and make a gun. So at 11 years old, when I tell people the streets, because also I've done the junior achievement program in Albany. And so people said, do you want to go into high schools? I said, no, I don't want to go into high schools. I want to go into middle schools because the streets get our kids at 11 years old. So I want to go in there and try to help them understand that you can be somebody. So when I did that, I watched in Harlem people shot and died. Had cousins that died, close cousins in the city. And then recently, in Albany, that I said to you earlier, Albany saved my life coming from Harlem to start a family, to be able to give back to the community, to change my life, to stop doing what I was doing back and forth in New York City in Albany to a certain extent. But it took my daughter's life, my baby girl, July 3rd, Dominique Eley, Kate Hollywood. And so you hear about it, you have family members, but you never experience the trauma until you walk behind the casket of your child. And she did a lot of good things. People might say she wasn't perfect, and none of us are perfect, but she didn't deserve to die like that. So gun violence, it's horrible because, again, I always tell people it heightened during the pandemic for some strange reason. One, because, again, the social environment we're trapped amongst each other. The drugs are in the community, lack of education, lack of vision, lack of, and then just the way we've been raised not to care about each other as African Americans. So I also say to myself that all the guns, where we know people can go buy guns and sell them back in the streets. It just seemed to be, I was in Louisville, I was in Louisville at the time, Kentucky, and murder spiked there.
Yep.
I moved to Indiana 2 years ago. In Indianapolis, it spiked. So I always see that guns are, I think, through the NRA, whatever, somewhere guns are being placed in the city streets more.
Okay.
So the pandemic.
On top of that, like you said, when you were 11, you could make a gun, right? It's the same. So they got ghost guns, they got ghost burners now. I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just like, so people, a lot of the guns that are on the streets right now are what's called untraceable or ghost burners, right? And you can buy pieces. There was a really big bust there in the capital region too. The guy was having pieces sent all over the states, and then getting them and then bringing them all together. But you got that on top of the fact that when you said, you didn't know why it spiked during COVID, in my opinion, a lot of it is because our mental stability or emotional health, our mental health was fractured for a lot of us during that time period too. Imagine to have to isolate so much and maybe in isolation, not being exposed to, healthy avenues. It was just like, we deteriorated a lot as a people. But sorry, I just wanted to.
No, you're right. Because again, I think going back to what I said earlier and growing up in Harlem, when I walked out of the street, who did I see? Who were my mentors? Whether the stick-up kid, a drug dealer, a gang member. Those are the ones now being during the pandemic. All that stuff just kind of exploded, So and the violence just erupted, and that hurt. It hurt our community and things like that. So again, my daughter was here with me, and she was starting to say, "Dad," but she's in hip hop and stuff like that. And she said, "Dad," she started to talk about salary with me. I want to get a salary. What's the salary look like? And she said, she left in late June. She was doing her birthday in July 12th. And she was going to come back here. A good friend of hers, he came back, just a friend she met, and she brought him out. He said, "Yeah, we're coming back." He came back, and he's working with me at his own place now. But she was supposed to come back. And, I'm fixing her. I got told at the funeral, she always had a room no matter where I went. So her room is made here. But the violence has to stop. we got to be, we got to start caring for each other more, and I was talking to someone about, even in prison, they said in prison that you can come in, if you're white, Hispanic, or Black, you see the whites click together, the Hispanics click together, but still in prison as African Americans, we're still fighting each other. And it goes back to slavery, where they taught us to fight ourselves. And they continue to do that, putting us in where we are, to make us feel, like we value ourselves. And we fight amongst ourselves. And we got to change that narrative,
Yep.
But the gun violence.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. One, sorry for the passing of Dom, but I'm thankful that you are carrying on her legacy and keeping her spirit alive. But I believe what you just said is the truth. We have to learn how to love and to care for each other a little bit better than what we've been conditioned to do. Right. And it's really hard when it's all that you see. I know for me, for a good part of my life, it was just like, I couldn't see that there were other opportunities. It was a better way because, I'm walking in a 4-block radius every day. And this is what, I'm programmed to do. But like I said, by the grace of God, you start to get a little bit of exposure. You start to travel a little bit and you realize that, what? Life is a lot bigger than these 4 blocks. Life is a lot bigger than the city of Albany. Life is a lot bigger than New York. Life is a lot bigger than the United States. Yeah. But it's just like, how do we make sure that that's the message? How do we make sure that families have enough resources to survive the times and to ensure that, we give our kids a fighting chance? And I think that's a community issue that needs to be looked at, to be considered, and to really put some more efforts towards in a tangible way. Because it's like we'll come out, we'll do riots if we think that something bad happened, but a scene of killing is just as bad, right? Realizing the post-traumatic stress that a lot of the families and the youth have to endure on a day-to-day basis just because of the community they live in is huge too, and deserves some attention. But I thank you for indulging me in my question. I do realize the sensitivity of it with you, but I think you as a dad, you as a parent, you as a person who's had to witness it would be someone that the world needs to hear and listen to, because a lot of times we don't realize that we're affected on both ends. The victim is affected, their family, the assailants are affected, their family, and we end up just crushing our community.
Right. Yeah. And I think when you said when we crush our community, it now people on the outside now again paint the picture of how we are in a negative manner, and the other thing we need to look at is how can educate our people as they get older and have the opportunity to vote, to understand how the local officials are helping the communities or not helping the communities, and making sure we put the right people in office and to hold them accountable. Because, at a higher level, we know that there's not justice for us. The Supreme Court we're going to look at now, it's slated for, Republicans, and we got to make sure that we understand and we can vote for those who are going to be supporting us.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, let me see, man. I got 3 questions for you, Gary, and I'm going to let you go. I know you're a busy man. I know you had a busy day already at the restaurant, so I'm going to let you go. This is probably my favorite question that I like to ask everyone that's on the show. How would you define success?
Well, everyone, again, everyone has their own terms of success. My success is one, leaving a legacy. And the legacy is that of being able to, because there's money part of a legacy in some way, right? But it's not about money. It's about leaving a legacy that you taught someone else how to persevere the ups and downs, like we talked about. How when you're being questioned or being challenged to say you can't do something, you prove them wrong. And that's what I tell people throughout my 36 years. I can probably pull a ticket out of each one that contain how I continue to prove someone wrong. So how do you persevere when there's a ceiling above you to push through that ceiling? That's one way. And then also, the one thing that I was not blessed with was generational wealth. And that could be money, it could be, assets.
Yep.
But how do I leave something that can go several generations? Because I tell people I came to Albany with nothing in my pocket. So I think the mental fortitude that someone said, hey, I can push through no matter what happened. Because there's always gonna be naysayers. And I listened to a song I hadn't listened to in a long time, but it's CeCe Winans, and it says, it's pray. When the world is on your shoulder, we pray, you pray, you pray. So I had to listen to it again, because there's a lot of things that people will continue not to see that I'm hurting. People will still come to need you. How do you help in a time of when you're hurting? So that's what I think about, the legacy of building financial wealth or financial assets for people, my family, helping people along the way, but also setting the stage for people to say, you know what, he pushed through no matter what happened, he continued. And that's what I want.
Okay. And you touched on, a legacy. Like you said, it's both financially, but it's also about the stability and the character branding of the individuals that are in your family. But one thing I love about this time period that we're in is that we talk about finances way more than I think ever. You got platforms like Earn Your Leisure, Ashcash, all of these different platforms that are educating individuals that look like us about how to invest, about how to own. So, when you look at Gary Eley and you say, well, you know what, this is where I started at. This is where I am now. And, I haven't even started to touch where I'm about to go, so when you just said that, it made me think about, that's part of your legacy, leaving a path, a roadmap for other individuals to realize that, it doesn't have to stop there. It can,
right.
It can stop somewhere else.
Right.
All right. My last question for you is, thinking about your life's path, what are you most proud about in your life's path?
Man, I think, and you got corporate things, you got personal things you can be proud of in your life path. One of the things I did too, I'm proud of being raised by a single parent for the most part, right? And her name was Minnie Eley, my mom's, right? My angel. And again, Woodside, I just put back, but I went to school in the Woodside for all my life. And that was my dad's name. I've probably seen him about 10 times in my whole life. The last time I saw him, I was hustling on 8th Avenue. And he came down the street, it was dark, and he had a woman in his arm. I turned him back and I wanted him to see me. I graduated from high school, but he didn't know I graduated. He was a dapper guy. And I turned my back, and then after that, moms got me out of Harlem. I graduated from St. Rose, and when I applied for McDonald's, I told him I didn't want to use my name, my dad's name, because he really didn't do anything in my mind to be with me throughout this whole process. And so I went with Eley. Eley is not even any part of our family roots. Roselle, Turner, Woodside. So I was so proud to say my mother raised us by herself, that's the name I want to use. You know, and after 30 something years, I finally go on Facebook and find my siblings. That dad had kids. He was married in Brooklyn, had kids in Harlem. I knew about him, but I left Harlem, so I couldn't really track him down. I tried it once. And to really, we synced them in. And, but going back, I was proud to say Minnie Eley was she was in the school system. She's got recognized for things with 11th grade education, you know. And my room in here, my dining room, as it was in Louisville, was named after her. And everything, all the plaques that she's gotten, not all of them, but one I could get in the living room hanging up now. That's a proud moment, showing that my mom's, because she went through a lot. She was always involved in the community. They said, hey, you started something, a legacy that I was proud of, that even though I did things wrong in the street, at some time in life, I decided I can't hurt you anymore. And I'm going to prove to you that your son is going to carry on your legacy. That's no problem.
That is an amazing testament. Thank you to Minnie Eley for raising you, and for you allowing that the legacy of your mother to be on your back for all of these years, for you to create what it is that you're creating. Listen, I am enjoying your interview for so many different reasons, Gary. And it's like, you know, even the connection between you and your mom, I am enjoying your story for so many different reasons. And I can't wait to get your story out to the people. One, because your story is what we need to hear. You know, we need to hear the story of your mother. You know, we need to hear the story of individuals who look like us, who have decided to persevere no matter what, and to also leave a path for other people if they choose to follow. Right. So thank you for being a leader for all of these years. Thank you for being a stand-up dude. Thank you for being an owner, for making that decision for the last 2 years there with McDonald's. And thank you for promoting a corporation that has values, that do care about our community. And thank you for being on the forefront of that and being the face of that. Thank you for giving me your time and being on the back community. And I really can't wait to get your story out to the people, Gary.
All right, Brother Terrell, thank you very much for giving me time on your platform. I appreciate it. And I wish you continued success, because you've done the best. Again, coming from where you came from, you kind of, I said, paved a pathway for your kids and for others to see that we can persevere.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
We are viable to this society, and we have to be proud of it. We need to show everyone that we are part of the fibers of this country. We'll persevere. All right. So I appreciate your time. Thanks for giving me time.
Oh, not a problem. Not a problem. Thank you very much, man. I'll let you get back to the rest of your evening. The back community, you got a chance to hear from Mr. Gary Woodside Eley himself. Thank you for giving me your time. Gary, I'll play catch up with you next time, man. You have a wonderful night, sir.
Same to you. God bless. All right.
All right. You too, man. God bless. Later.
Keep climbing up the ladder. A Black Lives Matter. It matter. So all you young people, give me all. 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 Matter, matter. A Black Lives Matter. They matter, they matter. A Black Lives Matter.